do well. He's done so well so far, 6-4, 4-2 against Protoss.
And he's taken out really good players. He's a gold Zerg here. If you look at his record in total, you're like, oh, 16-24, he's got a negative record. And if you looked at him after last season of Pro League, if you minus the, they take the 6 and the 4 out there and you look at his record, he hasn't even played that many games. And his record was pretty poor. He was a guy you're like, wait, is he Savage? Who is that guy? Is he Climax? Who is? Now he switches ID a third time. Who is he? He didn't really leave a big mark on Pro League, but he certainly has now, especially with his Codes performance. Now, HerO, 28-26, 4-3. The only player more emotional than this guy is Marine King. And we saw how that went for him yesterday.
And I feel like HerO here in the final, he's the final hope here for Incredible Miracle right now. And there's a ton of pressure on him. He's not the best pro gamer to deal with that pressure. Could we see him fall apart?
I think he very well could. All depends on what the build that Rogue has planned. It is going to be on the King Sejong Station, a map where we see so many Protoss versus Zerg timing attacks. All that JINAIR needs is a win for Rogue here, and it's all over. Let's jump into the game.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
Down here in the bottom right, the Zerg player for JINAIR Green Wings, it is Rogue.
And his opponent to the top left in blue for the Team Liquid. Playing as a mercenary for Incredible Miracle, it's HerO, not to be confused with CJ's HerO.
Yeah, both of the heroes very, very strong players. The other hero having a bit more consistency, but this hero also very, very good. Has some trouble with his nerve issues sometimes. Is very, very emotional. We watched an interview with him once, and he was a very soft-spoken guy, a very cool guy, and you can tell that stuff like losing in a situation like this would really, really get to his head. And I don't want to see him lose here, but if Rogue starts to be aggressive, if he starts to get into his head, with how strong Rogue is as a player, I could really see something happen to HerO.
He lost in a tough group of some of the top NA pros in WCS North America. Void Ray Imba, Mothership Core Imba, Stalker Imba, Forest Fields Imba, High Templar Imba, Colossus Imba, Protoss underpowered. I don't know about that, man. So going back to what we were saying, HerO had a tough group in WCS America. He lost his last Pro League match. He looked crushed after every time. Most notably after he lost his WCS America group, he actually posted on Facebook about how upset he was and how he was having a hard time. And I want to tell you guys that if you guys like to support these players, there's a way you can actually reach out to them very easily. It's Twitter. HerO's Twitter account is liquid_HerO. And if you guys want to reach out to Rogue, you can also find him on Twitter. He's actually rogue_SC2. So if you tweet at these two guys, they'll actually read your tweets. You can support them in that way. Definitely be sure to follow them and tweet at them, because any pro gamer who gets upset after a match loves to hear his encouragement from the fans.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about another pro gamer. Oh, wow, nice. Another block here on that hatchery. But you were talking about another player who gets very emotional with losing was Marine King. He actually posted, like, I don't want to live anymore after he lost his most recent match. So.
Yeah, he posted that on Facebook. He definitely was having a tough time. Teammate State, though, did say that he felt a little bit better after time went by. No cancel on his pile, and he's really committing to actually shutting this down. Of course, with the Zerglings that are coming out, he will eventually be able to get this, but his hatcheries are pretty delayed. And definitely get a slight edge here as HerO with this. So HerO's getting into the head of Rogue right away, rather than the other way around, which is pretty good for him.
Yeah, definitely very good for him. He has to be in control of this game. And look at this, while those Zerglings are actually going at that pylon, he's going to be able to sneak in there with the probe, get some more scouting information. But just having the game in HerO's hands and just having him be in control is definitely going to be good for his mindset. He just has to keep that under control, and I know HerO as a player, I definitely know that he can take this game if he continues with that.
We saw him take a really cool game in the PvZ with his tempo-based Stargate play, where he went into Void Rays and then followed up with Phoenixes and did a lot of damage. It was on Frost, totally different map. So I wonder if we're going to see something similar to that. It's a little bit tough to pull it off on this map, but if anybody does well with Stargate play, it's Liquid HerO, man. He's one of my favorite Stargate players against Zerg.
Yeah, he's one of the first Protosses to really use that Phoenix played earlier on in Wings of Liberty. It was very, very fun to watch its style of play.
Cool little placement for the Cybernetics core, tucking it away into the little drawer over there. Socks go in the sock drawer, Cyber core goes in the Cyber core drawer.
It's the Cyber core drawer right there?
Yeah, that's it.
Right there?
That's where it goes. Don't put the socks in there. Keep your underwear on the top drawer. And jeans on the fourth drawer. On the bottom drawer, you can put your shirts. Organize them by nicer shirts, though. And t-shirts. Keep them separate.
Yeah. I usually put my t-shirts on the second drawer.
Me too, actually. Second and third. I have a lot of t-shirts right now. I have like too many t-shirts, Brendan. Maybe I should donate some t-shirts.
You could. I've seen some of your t-shirts.
Yeah, they're good t-shirts.
Yeah.
But like, I've got so many.
I don't have quite as many. I just have a drawer with all my t-shirts. It's not too many. It's not overfilling. It's not breaking the drawer.
Not breaking the drawer. That'd be bad.
Don't want to break any furniture.
No.
That would be unfortunate.
Well, you know what? The Cybernetics core and the Robo are not seen here. Even though the Cybernetics core, or rather the Robo is kind of poking out of that Cyber core drawer, the Overlord is nowhere nearby to see this.
Yeah. It's like an overstuffed Cybernetics core drawer.
That's like when you just close it and you're like one of your boxers is kind of poking out and you're like, it doesn't really matter if my boxer gets wrinkled, nobody's going to see that.
Yeah.
That's basically what this is right now. But the Overlord here is actually pretty close to scouting. All he has to do is sneeze facing southwards and he's going to be able to see that. Looks like this one sees it right before its death regardless. And we're going to see a sentry drop here. HerO loves to do this.
Yeah. And this could be actually so strong on this map as well. You get a couple of those bases very far away. You get a force field on that ramp, and you just start warping in stuff with a bunch of these gateways, and all of a sudden the Zerg player's in trouble. We've seen HerO do it before. How successful is it going to be? So far, looking at Rogue's base, he already has that Roach Warren on the way, so that's going to be good for this.
Yeah, the Roach Warren is pretty important in the defense of this attack. He wants to ward the Overlord away so he doesn't see that it's a mothership, rather a warp prism over here. And wow, double Stargate follows us up. I think he's actually going to do this similar tempo play, except this time with a warp prism and following it up with Phoenixes. Could also be for double Void Race to go for third base. Sends us in the middle of the map. Notice he avoids both watchtowers. Let's see if he actually gets away with getting towards the main base. There's no queen over here right now, the spot for this. Could actually just go for force fields on the drones.
Looks like that's what he's going to do. Drops behind, gets a decent force field over here. He's going for that queen with the sentries. Is he going to get it? I think he is. Yeah, it goes down.
Yep, nicely done. Now actually the Zealots going the drones a little bit here. Good position on the sentries. He traps the drones again. Not enough energy to do a third force field there, and now it's just going to pick up and get out. That poor Zealot will go down. The Spore Claw finishes just a second too late. Now he goes double Phoenixes behind this. So with the assassination on that queen, that's one queen gone, which means the dealing with the Phoenix's follow-up is going to be a little bit more difficult. This is also something that Rogue hasn't seen, and that he shouldn't reasonably expect, even out of a player like HerO. A Phoenix follow-up to this is pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. It's very unexpected. And this probe is going to come over here and try to start this third base.
Ooh, I don't think he's
drop it. Oh, yeah,
wow.
He does. And he gets away, actually. He doesn't die. HerO Mothership Core.
Whoa, get out of there, sentries. Again, the Zealots left for dead here.
Yeah, they're able to be picked up. We see now for Rogue immediately an Infestation Pit and a Spire being started here. He wants to get that tech up and running right away.
I think we're going to see Swarm Host most likely, but the Spire, of course, to be against reasonably expected Colossus tech. Now he sees the Phoenixes. And he's got to, of course, prepare for that. Might just go Infestors as a result and then start Corruptors there. Third base very exposed and with Zerling speed done. I don't know if HerO can actually hold this. Those Phoenixes are not going to be there to defend. And even if they were, they wouldn't be able to lift quickly enough. No tight walls up here. No sentries. I think this Nexus is as good as gone. Even with the Zealot Warp in here, there's no way he's holding this one. He's even going to lose the Zealots. Cannon is finished, but who cares? No cancel.
Wow. He's focusing a lot on his Phoenix Micro back at the base of Rogue. Meanwhile, his third base is being focused down here.
Yeah, he's killing a lot of Overlords here. And Rogue saw this, but he saw it a bit too late to pull his Overlords back. So many of those going down. He has so many Phoenixes on the map right now, Brendan. This base is being remade now with a Time Warp here. I don't think he should have actually put this down this soon because the hit points are so low. I think if this really was focused, they might have been able to get that. It's a tough call.
Yeah, does at least force the Time Warp there, though.
I mean, at least he gets it this time, and HerO is in a position now to kill more units that try to transfer between the bases. He's killed so many queens. Pathogen glands are done, but no infestors to actually come out and utilize this. 1 queen and 1 spore crawler. No, 2 queens over there. Still, I don't think that's enough. He's going to just target down some of these overlords and fly away.
No, it's not enough. There are just so many phoenixes here, but he does not commit to it, it looks like. He wants to come over here to the natural first. And meanwhile, sending in his Zerglings at those rocks is Rogue wants to open up another path to the natural of HerO.
9 infestors on the way. That's a huge commitment of gas here for Rogue, but if he's able to get those money fungals on these phoenixes, and the keyword being money here because he spent so much money on those infestors, it's going to be very ideal. Without that, though, this is a huge investment spent that won't pay off because the Colossus tech is already out. 1 Phoenix goes down, a small price to pay compared to how much damage he's done. He gets away right before the infestors get out. Good star sense here by HerO.
Yeah, and right now he's going into these Void Rays, of course. He wants to follow it up. He knows Corruptors are possible. He's seen the Spire, and he wants to have it in his army mix as well. These Zealots are being escorted by the War Prison, going to try to do some harass at the third base. HerO very harass-oriented from the beginning, being really in the face of Rogue from the beginning, getting on his terms.
Yep. And Locust being researched the upgrade right now. The extended lifetime upgrade. +1 for the Locust as well as +1 for Corruptors. Finishes up here. He starts Burrow. Going to allow him a little bit more flexibility with his units. Festers still roaming around the map with a ton of energy now built up. The Pathogen glands plus the time they've spent building the rest of that energy. That is a changeling, I believe. Yep, does get spotted. Sees the Void Rays are being added into the composition.
Yeah. HerO just slowly getting the Colossi out, slowly getting 2 Void Rays at a time, adding the Twilight Council. He's going to want more upgrades for the ground, possibly Blinker charge later on. Here comes the Overseer. He's not going to live very long with all these Phoenixes up.
Yep. The Phoenix is definitely going to chase him out pretty soon.
Look at this. Rogue wants to get the creep all the way to the base of HerO. He's starting to just push it all the way across. He has so many queens over here. He's actually going to take down some of these hallucinated Phoenixes.
And charge on the way, +2. A bit late, but this is how it goes when you go Sky Toss. +1 for the Phoenix is going to be pretty helpful. And look at this. The Zealots still have +1, and this hatch definitely going to fall. I don't think there's any way you can save it. You can't transfuse a constructed building. And goodbye hatch. There's the cancel. Does what HerO could not do earlier.
At least gets that cancel. These Phoenixes are flying around menacingly. They were like, ooh, can we pick off some infestors or some units? But Rogue very, very keen on that. Definitely knew that was possible.
Wow, I can't believe actually he traded those Zerglings there too, because with all those queens and the transfuses plus any other range units he had around there, I don't think he needed to do that. So that's a lot of larva spent there. And the Zerglings not only the Zealot's not only getting the hatchery, but getting the Zerglings as well. So really nice trade for him there. Fleet Beacon goes down. And I think this could be for Tempest. Its 3rd Stargate goes up. It's also going to allow him to get +2 for his air. There's no reason to believe that Rogue is going for a Mutalisk switch. He keeps checking for this too. And why would Rogue even consider going for a Mutalisk switch against these Phoenixes? There's way too many of them on the map.
That would just be a death sentence. I just would definitely not expect anything like that, and I don't think HerO should as well. 8 Swarm Hosts on the way right now. HerO wants to get his 4th base up in the meantime.
Yeah, going to be tough to contest this without the Swarm Host getting close. The creep is at least going that far, albeit not the thickest creep we've ever seen, so it could be pushed back pretty easily by HerO if he decides to go over there and start poking at it. He doesn't have a ground army that's strong enough to move onto the map, though. The only thing he really has going for him are these 9 Phoenixes. They're mobile, they're harassment-oriented, but the rest of his ground army consists of 6 Zealots and 3 Colossi. He does have a Warp Prism to make temporary ground armies to kill bases, but that's all he's got.
Yeah, and that's really all he's used it for so far. You see the Hive being started here. He's covering the space over here in Spore Crawlers. It's going to be very useful for possible Void Ray harass coming over there.
Yeah, and also against Warp Prism harass is not going to be able to find a sweet spot on the right side of that base. That's for sure. More Void Rays is getting the +2 as we expected to see from the Fleet Beacon. And he's building that Protoss Death Ball. And with this many Colossi out, especially with additional ones being added, Locusts are not going to get much done. We talked about this before as well. Zealots now coming over here to clear up some of that creep. Very, very lackluster creep spread. It's far, but it's not thick, so it's going to get pushed back really easily. The Zealots can even comfortably sit around over here.
Yeah, it's like a very thin soup, but a lot of it. Like, which would you rather have? Thick, really good soup, or just thin, kind of soup? but a lot of it.
Or would you rather have like a healthy spread of peanut butter on your toast, or just like kind of barely does it? You know, it's almost like see
You have
through
like
holes in it.
2 pieces of toast, but with more, a thinly spread peanut butter on both of those. I'm like,
Not feeling
that's
it.
not good. And that's kind of how I feel about this creep.
I mean, the thing is, against Protoss, it's pretty tough to actually commit your APM to spreading creep because it's not as useful as it is in the matchup against Terran, for example. But against the Protoss in this matchup where you're committing to Locust so much, really helps the Locust chase, helps them close the gap, and it gives you more vision. So it is really important, just not as important as it would be in the matchup against Terran. Zealots now finally being right-clicked properly there.
They're having some trouble. They were just staring at the rocks first.
I think the reason why this happens is if you right-click on move command, or you just right-click in general, they set to move command because they don't have vision before they get there. Then when they do get there, they, of course, observe that, in fact, the rocks are there, but they don't attack until you tell them to.
They're going to get down the rocks, but unfortunately they're probably going to go down to those infested Terrans. Saw a mothership being started.
Yeah, we don't see that all too often.
And 2 more Stargates being added to this. So he's going to go up to 4 Stargates here, committing heavily, probably to those Tempests you were talking about.
He just knows that the more Stargates he has, the more he can rebuild whatever it needs to be. If there's a sudden Mutalisk switch, he's got an app for that. He's got the tech for that, excuse me. And if it's a ton of Corruptors being added, he can switch to more Void Rays. If it's Brood Lords that he's up against, that's where the Tempests come into play. And since he doesn't have any Tempests in his composition just yet, why not add a few? Because they are eventually going to do a lot of damage to those Corruptors. They're going to start adding up. One unfortunate Templar does go down here.
Yeah. We're seeing the Tempests now being made 3 at a time. Probably going to be making 4 at a time if he can afford it. As well with the supply. He's getting pretty, supply blocked at the moment as well. One thing I really like out of Rogue's play right now, he doesn't want to lose these infestors as I start to compliment him. Could just burrow them, but he doesn't decide to do that. One thing I
was just going to say, sometimes it's like the common sense answer doesn't always come at you at the most important moment.
Look at this being picked up. A bunch of these Swarmos going down for free.
What were you going to say earlier before those infestors?
Before all these mistakes out of Rogue here, I was going to compliment him on the fact that he's making a ton of these static defense. He's making so many spine crawlers. He's making extra drones to do it, making a ton of spore crawlers as well. Just wants to be. He's focused really, really late game.
Oh yeah,
look at this.
A ton of spores. So many spores in the main base earlier that he can move over later if he needs to. The Protoss army is bolstered by an economy that's headed up by 81 drones, so that means his army supply is always going to be about 20 down on his Zerg opponent when they're both maxed. But at the same time, with this, he can build a huge bank, and with all the Stargates that he has, I don't blame him for this. If you, as a Protoss player, can get a massed-out air army with tons of capital ships, then it's difficult for the Zerg to ever really commit to an engagement against you. This is another way to trade army supply to get something a little bit better up. He doesn't really want these roaches anymore. He'd rather have more swarm hosts.
Yeah. Does maybe a little bit of damage onto that cannon, but like you said, just throwing away that supply. Rogue has been very, very good with these. The static defense.
The
changelings. Yeah.
He's sending a lot of those around the map, He's constantly sending those across those overseers that he needs to help detect this Protoss army.
Yeah, he even had 2 before underneath the mothership while it was transforming there. So getting all of this information that he possibly can in many different ways.
Well, this is starting to look like a European PvZ here. Very slow, calculated pushes across the map. +2 Carapace for the Corruptors is halfway done as the +3 weapons will actually finish for those Flyers. This will come into play a little bit later as well for Broodlords if they do come into the mix, which I think is pretty unlikely considering the compositions. But also for Mutalisks, which also, again, pretty unlikely considering where we're at in this game. But the Corruptors, they need the +3 upgrades. +1 shields, and the Protoss plating for air is coming up now. So he's getting his own upgrades. And again, the lack of detection here protects those High Templar, and that's why the Mothership Core is pretty useful in this type of situation.
Even Dark Templar coming out here trying to do some damage, but with how many Overseers, how many Spore Crawlers there are on the ground even, it's going to be hard to do much damage with that unless you go into the main base. Like you said, just continuing to be concealed, none of this. These Vipers are looking very, very sneaky right now, wagging their tails. They want to grab something, I think.
Yeah. Vipers become so important against this composition because you have to start picking up Void Rays, Colossi, Tempest, anything that gets too close. Solely, but still, yeah, Mothership as well. We've seen this actually probably the most often, and that's what he goes for at first. Right clicks on it, it recalls, but it fails.
Goes down. The Phoenix is just trying to chase, do whatever damage they can, but barely getting any.
We very rarely see a failed recall. If you've got that much DPS on a Mothership, you're doing something right. He's got so many Corruptors in this composition, all with +3, of course, and the +2 now air armor upgrade. I don't even know the technical term for that is being researched. +2 shields as well as +3 armor. So all those Protoss upgrades starting to come through. And these players' banks are starting to get incredibly high. I do not expect this game is going to end in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I think we're going to have a really long one on our hands here, Brennan. With all these static defenses, all the AoE, it's going to cause players going to have to make a mistake for this game to end anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I mean, you usually don't see these games end unless one player just makes a really big mistake, throws away a lot of units, and the other player is just able to capitalize. But I agree with you. The one thing that Rogue does have going for him right now is that as he has the Swarm Hosts, a ton of them in the middle of the map, he's able to protect his middle base a lot better compared to HerO, who is just not able to get that Nexus up because of those Swarm Hosts. They continue to send Locusts, even Roach is in that mix. So he's just not able to get a Nexus up there. Rogue is eventually going to go for that base to the east, and he's going to have those minerals and gas eventually. It seems like HerO's been patrolling over there just trying to see if he eventually goes for that. It hasn't gone for it just yet, but he's going to have it in his back pocket.
Yeah, certainly what he's going to have here. I kind of like that Rogue has kept his worker count low because all he really needs is, this could be the first step. Second fungal goes down as well. Third fungal is good. Fourth is good. Good yank on the Void Rays. Gets another Colossus here. Just loses Overseer though. That Colossus goes down. And this is a small victory here because he's going to trade so much of that Protoss gas. But back to what I was saying, he keeps his drone count light, which means his army is so much bigger. And with an army that's this big, he's, oh wow, oh my god.
Whoa.
Nothing that I'm saying is as important as this. This is one way to siege up a base, that's for sure. And if the Zerg army gets on top of these spines, the Protoss isn't going to be able to deal with these. DTs are trying to help out. Actually, they're just going to run, they're just going to sneak by.
Yeah,
this is crazy, man. He's going to kill this hatchery, or this Nexus, quite easily.
Yeah, Nexus is going to go down. There's just not much that HerO can do against this, unless he wants to bring all of his air army over there, in which case Rogue could definitely take advantage of that somewhere in the middle of the map. He's got to go about this very carefully. Rogue with a very nice player.
This is like an old Curious game or like an old ST game where he just, you know, he's so confident to attack bases with spine crawlers and even just continue to make static defense because he has the idea that these units these are structures. They don't take up army supply. They're going to be a good investment no matter what. Static defenses are useful because they're, for their cost, more efficient than a unit almost every time. Actually, like 100% of the time.
Yeah.
That's why they're used in the defense. Their weakness is that they cannot move. But as a Zerg, your static defenses can relocate to a certain extent if you have creeps. So they become army units in a way.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages that the Zerg have here in the late game. And Rogue, like I said, even from 15 minutes ago, he's been really focused on getting those static defense up, and it's really helping him here. It allowed him to take out that Nexus, that's for sure. And you see HerO just like trying desperately to take this middle base, but it's just so hard against all these Swarm Hosts.
Even that one DT is like working on the job, man. He's like, oh, my arm's so tired from swatting these Locusts. Give me a better job. All right, here we go. One Tempest goes down. Revelation goes down this army as well, so we can start to poke that away. Doesn't get any kills on the other hand. There's way too many Locusts here, and I think the Nexus may be doomed to fall. He needs to cloak that with his Mothership.
Man, look at all of those Spore Crawlers.
Right now, both players are wishing they can mine those crystals there sticking out of the ground. Another good fungal here, but he's struggling to follow it up because there's just too much AoE. No target on that Nexus. If he targeted the Nexus, he'd need an Overseer, actually. I mean, the more I think about it, it looks like the Nexus is not cloaked, but I'm pretty sure it is. There's a Mothership core right on top of it. He doesn't have any Overseers. Good feedbacks here. Will the Mothership get away this time? No. Again, it is targeted down before it recalls. But the Nexus is still alive. Without the Mothership, though, he can target that. He can turn those Locusts around.
He's got to turn them around. I mean, the next wave is going to get it regardless.
Yeah, I guess so.
HerO, like, he just cannot mine from this middle base. It's just not going to happen.
He's down in army supply because he has more harvesters, but his economy is no better because he keeps losing this base. Now he's going to start throwing probes away. Or actually, I'm not even sure this is intentional, but regardless, he's going to lose some, which will give him a little bit more room to work with.
Yep.
He's about to have +3 shields for the 5 additional Void Rays he's making right now.
He's decided to switch into those Void Rays. It doesn't seem like he wants to stick on too many Tempests, just maybe keeping them in the back, start to siege up on these static defense structures.
He needs to start clearing up creep tumors as well, because if he wants to take another base, eliminating the creep is pretty important. The other Tempest goes down, and this is starting to deplete HerO's bank quite a bit. Another grab on that Tempest, and HerO's really starting to feel the burn right now. If he doesn't deal with this sometime soon, things are going to get worse and worse. Even losing some Templar here, perhaps. 1, 2.
Gets another grab, getting more Colossi as well, and I think he might actually just go for it. Maybe. No, decides to back off, isn't going to commit just yet. He does not need to because he's just continuing to chip at this. High Templar being taken out by all these Locusts, and it's just so strong. It looks like the Void Rays want to come in here and do something about it, but great fungal so far.
Good splitting on the Void Rays, though, by HerO. He just keeps getting locked down on those High Templar. And the reason why he's able to commit here is because there's no static defense nearby. Transfuse is going on like unlimited here. There must be a special right now. He's going to fight the Corruptors head on. Storm goes down. Looks like there's too much Zerg though. Locust on the ground. Push back those Colossi. The last of the Void Rays fall. And oh no, how quickly can HerO remax? 4 macro hatcheries queued up here by Rogue. The last Tempest over here at the back. Will it fall?
6 Manor hatcheries on the way. Tempest being taken out by the Corruptors. Just so many Corruptors, way too much.
HerO just ran out of patience. And that's exactly how this composition works as a Zerg player. You just keep spreading creep, you keep sending free units across, you keep trading, and eventually the Pross is going to make a mistake.
Yep, and that was the mistake. That's it. JINAIR grooming girls seem so happy about this, and they should. Rogue able to take it in such a long game. HerO's going to fight on for such a long time. He did get his mothership back for now, but you guys see that huge blob of green on the left side. That means Rogue is very confident in this one.
HerO's really hurt here. You can see it in his camera shot. Rogue has a slight smile on his face. With all these Manor hatcheries, he's actually going to be able to rally queens out of there. No joke. I mean, I think that's probably what we're going to see if they do finish. But it's not a bad choice. It's going to help his creep spread as well. The Zealots over there are trying to eliminate those, and that is very expensive for Rogue, so he may end up canceling some of those. It's always embarrassing to cancel Manor structures, but decent storms here. There's so many static defenses here. Doesn't really know which way to go, which way to move in, which way to engage.
Yeah, it's just so hard at this point. I mean, his army supply has been cut in half. He's down to 86 now. This is the last of his army. Look at how many Overseers there are even in that army.
Yeah, I think this is just another way of Rogue saying, I've got this game won. Obviously, the Overseers are pretty useful against this composition, but there's the grab on the mothership. Not even enough time to attempt a recall. There's the fungal on the rest of that 74 army supply. 5 more Corruptors being made for the Remax here. And here comes some more free Locusts again with the fungals. He's got another pull here on that Tempest. Goodbye, Tempest. The rest of the army is fungled here, and there's just way too many Corruptors. It looks like JINAIR has done it again. This time not with a 3-0, but with a 3-1. GG, HerO falls again, and Rogue, the up-and-comer, takes a very long, very calculated Zerg versus Protoss match to take the win for JINAIR yet again.
Gives a salute to all of his fans. He's got to be so pleased with that one.
And
Rogue looking incredibly strong.
This gives JINAIR a +9 indicator.
They are the first place team by far for round 2 so far. Every single match they go into, just destroying the other team.
They have just become quite the formidable opponent, man. This has been a great season for them and a great round, especially here in round number 2. 3-1, taking that victory. HerO looking very strong at points in that match, but he just could not stand up to the constant aggression, the constant pressure that was going his way.
That was one of the best late game Zergs I've seen out of Rogue. That was just such a treat to watch. I was so happy with that the whole way through.
Static